Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming, and I'm really excited about teaching this workshop. I put a lot of thought into it to make it informative, in hopes that it will help your practice or help you in general, just with your activities, if you're a runner, if you do a type of sport or whatever it may be. Hip mobility can help everyone. So I just wanted to welcome you all here. And so the workshop is it's not gonna be like a typical flowy vinyasa yoga class. It's gonna have a more workshopy feel. And we're gonna go through all the different ranges of hip motion. So there's a lot of different ranges. And I know, like, back when I first started doing yoga, I would ask my students, what do you want to work on? They'd say hips, and immediately your mind goes to pigeon. Oh, we'll do pigeon, and that will take care of our hips. But there's a lot more to it than just pigeon pose, and that's a great pose, don't get me wrong, but there are many other ways to stretch and move the hips. So just to go over quickly, the ranges of motion that we're going to be incorporating into this workshop are flexion, extension. So we're going to do internal rotation, external rotation. We're going to do abduction and adduction. And I always get those two confused because I'm always like, which one are your knees going out? Which one are your knees going in? And somebody said, think about adding your knees together, and that's adduction. So, and the opposite would be abduction. And then there's circumduction, which we'll go through all these things, and we're not going to necessarily follow any particular order of those things. But to start, we're going to come into a comfortable seat, hopefully comfortable seat. If you have tight hips, it might not be so comfortable. So that's kind of like our first test here. So I'm sitting up on a block, which is why I mentioned maybe grabbing a block or a blanket to kind of place it under your seat, and that lifts up the hips and allows the knees to kind of drop out to the side, right? So if you have tight hips and you come down to sit and your hips are tight, they're going to be up like this, right? So just something to notice, that's all. We don't really need to do anything about it right now. We're just kind of noticing. And before we start, also, I want to just talk about the difference between stretching and mobility. So when you perform a stretch, it's considered static. It's basically holding still. So I'm just going to give you an example. If I bring my leg out in front like this, and I'm going to come into Janu Shirshasana, I'm relying on my own body weight to move into this stretch to get a muscular stretch at the back of my hamstring. So this is static, this is holding still. So mobility, on the other hand, is the ability for the joint to move through its full range of motion. So if you have tight hips, you're not going to be able to achieve full range of motion. So they kind of go hand in hand. And it's not always tightness that causes immobility, it can be weakness. So we're going to address that as well. So it's not just tightness, it's weakness. And I want you guys just to pay attention as we go through and think to yourself, and I'll bring it to your attention, but just kind of noticing, am I weak or am I tight? Because there's a very big difference, and it matters which stretch you want to do. So if you're really weak, you want to strengthen. If you're tight, you want to stretch. You don't necessarily want to stretch your weak muscle because it's already loose, and you could actually do more damage. So, all right, that being said, this is not just a mobility workshop, it's flexibility, strength, and stability, right? It's going to offer us stability once we have our flexibility and mobility working properly. So now we're going to kind of shift gears and make it like a real yoga class, right? So once you have found a seat that works for you, that's comfortable, go ahead and softly close your eyes. Now I'm getting into my zone here. I'm getting my game face on, my comfort zone. Feel free to fidget a little bit if you need to. Sometimes I like to rock from side to side or front to back. And just begin to shift your awareness from the external to the internal. Becoming aware of your body. Becoming aware of how you're feeling at this moment. Just sort of dropping into the present moment. Right here, right now, how are you feeling? What's going on? Is there any tightness? Noticing your breath. Maybe you can smooth the breath out a bit. It's funny, when I even mention the breath, we automatically slow down our breathing. We're drawing our awareness there. So if you can smooth it out by just maybe lengthening your inhales, lengthening your exhales. If you'd like, you can start to add a count to your breath. So you can inhale for a count of 8. At the top of the inhale, pause for a count of 4. And then exhale for a count of 8. Or just continue breathing in and out through the nose. And as you're breathing, keep your spine nice and tall and lifted. Allow everything around the spine to relax. So the shoulders, knees, arms, and legs. Let go of any tension in the face. Just filling up and emptying out. And on your next exhale, just allowing your breath to return to its natural rhythm. Just breathing naturally. So we want to maintain a nice, even, steady flow of breath through our practice. We need to feed the muscles oxygen so that we can move without restriction. So the breath is super key here. Right, so from here, let's get dialed into our practice. We'll take our hands to prayer in front of the heart, Anjali Mudra. And we'll start by chanting 3 vibrations of Om. So if you'd like to join me, we'll take a nice big inhale. Another nice big inhale. Last one. I like to start class by chanting Loka Samasta. So if you know it, you can chant along, otherwise just listen. Loka Samasta Sukhina Bhavantu. Everywhere be peaceful. And just maybe keeping your eyes closed just for a moment here. Let the mantra kind of wash over you and relax you. And when you're ready, you can start to slowly float the eyes open. Move this out of the way. So we're going to start with a warm-up, or as I like to call it, the wake-up. So we're going to come onto our backs. Okay, so you can just make your way onto your back. So And if you're near a wall, just make sure you have enough space to inhale your arms up overhead. So you don't want any arms bumping into walls here. And we're just gonna take a nice big inhale and just reach the arms up overhead and really reach out through your fingertips, your toes. Nice big inhale, nice big stretch. And on your next exhale, just lower the arms back down. And then again, nice big inhale, reach the arms up. Maybe you want to flex the feet, right? You could point the toes, flex the feet, get a nice stretch on the back of the legs. And on your next exhale, you're just going to draw your left knee into the chest. So go ahead, you can grab behind the thigh if you feel tight here, or you can interlace the fingers and draw the knee in like that. And just notice what your bottom leg is doing. So if it's difficult for you to keep your leg flat on the floor, right, that might indicate that you have some tight hip flexion going on. So what we're doing right now is hip flexion. Just hugging the knee into the chest, relaxing the shoulders down. Sometimes when we do this movement, we hike the shoulders up, and there's really no need here. So we want to relax the shoulders toward the mat. Just feel the stretch. Maybe you don't feel anything. And then go ahead and release your left leg. Again, we'll take a nice big inhale, reach the arms up overhead, nice big stretch. And on the exhale, we'll draw the right knee into the chest. Again, relaxing those shoulders, relax your face. Right, soften the jaw. Okay, and then release your leg straight. And then we're going to take our arms out to a T. Right, so this is going to be, we're going to work on a couple different ranges here. Okay, so if you want to look, you can, otherwise you can just move right in. We're going to bring the knee into the chest. So last time we used our hands, this time we're going to just draw the knee in. Right, once the knee is kind of pulling toward the chest, you're going to drop the leg out to the side. And as you drop the leg out to the side, your knee may be suspended in air like mine is. You want to keep that left hip down if you're stretching the right leg. Then let your foot find the floor, and then just sweep it around and back to your starting position. We're going to do about 5 of those. So you can count for yourself. Again, drawing the knee in, like you're trying to bring your knee to your nose, letting it drop out to the side. This is our external rotation. Let the foot drop and then swing it around. Right, so that's like 2. And just paying attention, right, to how this is feeling in your hip. Right, honoring our bodies today. So being gentle, silencing that voice of criticism or judgment, right, and staying with what feels comfortable for you. Right, once you've done 5, we can switch sides. So we all might be moving at a different pace. That's totally fine. We're just kind of checking out how things feel in each movement. When we drop that leg out, it's really important to keep the opposite hip down. And I'm just judging by you guys in the room, so we're done. All right, and then once you're done from here, you're just gonna roll onto your side. So I'm gonna roll onto my side facing you guys, right? And I'm gonna hook my top leg over. So I'm gonna hook that leg here, and then I'm just gonna open up. So I can drop it in and then open up to the other side. And you can let your knee try to find the floor a little bit. So you wanna go the opposite way that your knee is going. So my knee is going right. I'm going to open up and stretch out to the left, right? And this is internal rotation of the hip. Whenever the knee crosses the midline of the body, that's internal rotation. And then we'll come back and we'll switch sides. I'll switch side of my mat. right? You just wanna, if you have a pillow, you can put it under your head if you want. You're gonna just bring it up by the knee, kind of hook it on there, and then open up, right? Inhale, out to the other side. All right, so this is not just, I like to place my hand on my knee to kind of get a little bit more of a stretch. This is not just our hip that we're stretching here. We're also opening up a little bit of the thoracic spine. You gaze over your extended hand if you like. And then we'll just come back to center. Go ahead and hug both knees into the chest. It may feel good to rock from side to side a little bit. Just kind of ironing out all those muscles around the sacrum. If you want to take circles, you can bring your hands to the tops of the knees. Just kind of go around a few times. And if you're taking your circles, you may want to switch direction, go a few times around the other way. And then from here, let's bring our hands behind the thighs. We're gonna rock this way, right? So we're gonna kind of rock forward and back. So this is a test of hip flexor strength here as well. If you want to come up and try to catch the balance, right? Maybe you keep your hands behind your knees. Maybe you can straighten the legs. Maybe you can let go of the legs. Right? Maybe you can bring the arms up. Right? So that's really the strength of our hip flexors that's holding us here. Right? And then go ahead and just release and just come into a seated position. Okay, and we'll do a little bit more of a warm up here. So we're just going to take our arms out to our sides, right? And take a nice big inhale, palms facing up, inhale. Try not to hike the shoulders, bring the palms together, and then exhale, bring the palms right in front of the heart. Go ahead and interlace the fingers and press the palms away. So really lean back and tuck your chin. Right, really feel that stretch in the upper back. And then inhale, send the hands up toward the ceiling. And then exhale, we're going to turn into a twist. So my left hand comes over my right knee, my right hand comes behind, and I'm just going to move into a spinal twist. If it's okay with your neck, you can gaze over your right shoulder. And you want to try to keep your hands close to the body. So if it's too far away, you're not really getting a twist here. So nice and close to the body. Maybe looking over the shoulder. Breathing here. Remember to keep that nice flow. Some of you may want to practice a little bit of ujjayi, that soft breath, that restriction through the back of the throat, or constriction. Okay, and then release, and we're going to come up again with the arms. So nice big inhale, palms together, lifting, reaching up out of the hips, and then exhale, hands to prayer. Let's interlace the fingers the opposite way, so the way that doesn't feel natural. And then go ahead and press the palms away, tuck the chin. Again, inhale, sending the arms up toward the ceiling. And then exhaling right into your twist. And then just release back to center. Right, so from here we can uncross our legs. We'll bring the legs out in front. If you want to kind of shake them a bit, maybe massage the knees. It's so quiet in here. There's like no music. I don't want everyone to be so serious. Okay, so let's smile and smile and laugh. I'm recording, but it's okay. I can record all this. All right, so we're just going to bring the legs out in front here. We're going to, again, test the hip flexor strength. So you can go ahead and lean back on your hands, and then you're just going to lift one leg or the other. It doesn't matter. You're going to try to lift your leg up off the floor. All right, so straight up. You can feel your quadricep fire up here. Right, and then slowly lower down, and then do the other side. Right, lift it straight up. Right, and slowly lower down. So you can feel that firing in the quadricep when you do that. That's why the quadriceps are really connected to the hip flexors. Then from here, I'm going to take my left foot behind. Actually, take your left foot behind and the right foot here. So this is called like 90-90, right? So my left foot is at a 90, or my left leg is 90 degrees, my right foot is 90 degrees. And then notice how you're sitting. So are we leaning to the side? A little bit, right? Some of us, we come back. So this means that we have some tight internal rotation on whichever side is, if you're leaning towards this side, it means this side is tight, right? So we want to work on a little bit of internal rotation, and we're automatically going to have better external rotation than internal because we have more flexion that way than we do internally. So from here, I'm going to turn my torso toward my knee, right? The one that's kind of out in front. We have one behind, one in front, and I'm going to really try to spin my torso. So you might already start to feel a stretch in that inner kind of thigh muscle or the hip. And then from here, we're just going to walk forward and try to just fold over that front leg. So now you may feel a little bit of a stretch in your glute, right? And that is the stretch that we want for external rotation. So this is the leg that's externally rotated. And just take a breath. This is sort of like pigeon, but not really like pigeon, but it's a similar type of stretch. It's definitely an external rotation stretch. And then let's slowly walk the hands back. And then we're gonna switch sides from here. So gently bringing that back leg forward and sending the front leg back. And again, try to get as much of that sort of 90-90 position. And then again, just sort of sit here, kind of see how you feel. Right, so my shin is parallel with the front of my mat, and my left foot, my heel is not really close to my seat, it's a little bit away from my seat. And I can feel myself kind of leaning into, this side, right? So that's that internal rotation. And then again, we're just gonna turn over the externally rotated leg, try to get your torso nice and square, and then just start to walk forward, right? And you feel the stretch start to shift into the glute of your leg that you're folding over. So you can really maximize this stretch by really rotating that torso toward the floor. And from here, let's press ourselves back up. And again, just gently bringing that back leg forward. And we'll bend both knees. So we're just gonna lean back on our hands. Right, so my feet are a little bit wider than hips width distance here. I'm going to drop one out to the side, that's external rotation, and then I'm going to drop the other one in, that's internal rotation. So you can see that one doesn't go very far. So what you don't want to do is lift your seat. So the seat stays nice and glued. Just let the knee drop as far as you can with keeping the seat nice and glued down. Right, and this should, you guys feel a stretch in that top leg. And then slowly, just bring one knee up at a time. And we're going to drop this one out to the side and then drop the top leg in. And again, try to keep the seat nice and glued down. Okay, and then one knee up at a time. We're going to take the feet a little bit wider, and we're going to do that again. So let both knees drop. This time you can lift the seat up a little bit. And if you want to go for a further stretch, you're going to take this top leg and just place it on the knee. Your left leg. Don't get away. So you're going to let the outer leg drop when you're here. Yeah. If it's too tight, don't worry about it. Like if it feels too much, don't worry about it. Right? And you want to be mindful of your knees because the hips are definitely connected with the knees. Right? And then we'll just switch sides and we're just kind of testing the waters and seeing like, you know, what movements feel good, what movements don't feel good. And I just want to explain why we're holding here. So if you had to kind of twist the body quickly, say you were avoiding something or moving something, if your hips are tight and you go to do that kind of movement, and the hips are inflexible, guess what's going to take the brunt of that movement? Your knees. So that's why hips and knees are very connected. Hips and back are very connected. So it's really important. So let's uncross the legs, bring the legs out in front, and hopefully this feels really good. We're just going to go from side to side. And feel free to lift right off the seat. So we're just kind of rocking and rolling. Maybe you feel a nice massage on the glute muscles as you go back and forth. And then we're going to turn it into a twist. So the next time your knees drop to one side, you're going to bring both hands to that side. And if you want, you can just keep on going and face the back of your mat. Okay, so it's a nice low back twist. Some of you may be able to drop down to your forearms here. But if it feels like too much, I would just stay up on the hands. And then we'll release, and we're just going to bring the hands, walk the hands back in, bring the knees up and over to the other side. Same thing, just kind of turn to that side and then maybe turn to face the back of the mat. And just breathing here, coming to the forearms if it's accessible to you. Right, keeping that nice steady flow of breath. And then we'll come on back to center. So walk the hands back. We'll keep the legs out in front like this, knees bent. Right, this time we're going to cross one leg over the opposite knee. So I'm just going to cross my left leg over my right leg. Right, and once I do that, I want to flex my foot. So I don't want to keep the foot nice and relaxed. I actually want to flex the foot. So my toes are kind of coming back toward the knee. So we're going to do this one on our backs as well, but this is one way to do this kind of reclined pigeon stretch, which is, or a seated pigeon stretch. This is great for external rotation. And there's two things you can do here. You can start to bring your knee closer to you, right? Or you can start to walk your hands forward. And keeping the foot nice and flexed. Try to keep your back nice and straight. Try to avoid like rounding into this. You want to keep that nice tall spine. And then slowly coming out of the pose. So we're going to revisit this on our backs in a little bit, but we'll switch sides from here. So the other foot comes over. Right, flex that foot. Try to keep everything nice and square, keep the chest lifted. And again, you can bring the knee closer to you, or you can just bring yourself closer to your leg. You can do this at work in a chair if you're, kind of working in an office. You can just cross your foot over your leg and just kind of fold over. I used to do that all the time at my office job. I was constantly doing yoga stretches. My coworkers thought I was weird, but I don't care. And then uncross, right? So I think you guys get the idea of external rotation, right? External rotation is sitting. It's what we just did here. So another, obviously, pigeon. Leg cradle, we're not going to do it right now, but that's another one that you can do to improve external rotation. So it really relates to a lot of the yoga poses that we do, this external rotation. But for now, we're just going to cross our legs, roll over our knees, and we're gonna come into a nice wide leg child's pose. All right, so bring your knees as wide as comfortable, bring your big toes to touch, really send your feet back towards your heels. Go ahead and stretch the arms forward. Right, as you do that, really melt the heart down, try to soften the space in between the shoulder blades. So here we're really stretching those inner thighs and those adductors, right, the inner part of the hip. Before we're kind of doing the other stretch, we're feeling it more in like the glute muscle. So different stretches are going to target different areas of the hip. And just nice, steady flow of breath in and out through the nose. We always want to breathe through the nose in yoga. Always through the nose. During our practice anyway. If you feel like it, you can walk your hands over to the right. So everything stays put with the legs. You're just walking the arms over. So keeping whichever way you're stretching, make sure that opposite hip is still pushing back toward the heels. I want to take the hip with you because then you're not going to get the benefit of the stretch. And then very slowly, just walking the hands back to center and then over to the other side. And some of you may want to just stay in your static child's pose, just holding that regular child's pose. So feel free to, I always say, like, I'm just here cueing everybody, but you always have to listen to what feels right in your body. We're our own best teachers. And then let's walk our hands back to our starting point. So we're going to bring our knees in and we're just going to come up into our tabletop position. So tabletop, if you need some padding for your knees, go ahead and place a blanket there. Right, place your knees right under the hips and your wrists right under your shoulders. And a nice stretch that I like to do for like the outer part of the hip is just to kind of wag the hips from side to side. And then we can incorporate a little bit more movement here to kind of target different areas. Let's take some circles. So really kind of get your hips into it, right? Just kind of move in a snaky sort of way. You don't have to necessarily do circles. You can kind of play around with some barrel rolls. Like barrel rolls are, going around this way. You drop and then come up, right? Whatever gets into those tight nooks and crannies, those ones that feel, those stretches that really target those areas. Kind of move around and breathe as you move. And then we'll all make our way back into our tabletop, and we're going to work on a little bit of extension here. So from here, I'm just going to send my right leg back, and we're just going to go for a nice stretch to start. So my right leg is back, I'm on the ball of my right foot, and I'm just going to press out through my heel. So you can really feel a nice stretch on the back of the calf muscle here. And if it feels good, you can rock a little bit forward and back, and that's going to actually work the wrists a little, right? Just kind of working the wrists, getting the shoulders a little bit more over the wrist or maybe past the wrists. And then we'll take this leg and we're going to pick it up and we're going to bring it across the body the other way. And then just look back at your toe or your toes. You have more than one toe. I only have one toe. And just kind of lean into it. You guys feel that? Hopefully you feel that nice stretch here. It's like a juicy one. And I never use the word juicy when I teach yoga, but it is. It's definitely, I used to get like, why do they have to say juicy or yummy or whatever? But, you know, it applies. And then go ahead and just bring that knee right back under the hip. And let's switch sides. So left foot comes back, press out through the heel, right? So when we're doing these, we want to make sure that our back is nice and neutral. So we don't want to like slunk down or round. We want a nice straight back, nice strong straight line. And again, if it feels good, you can, you know, go forward and back here a little bit. Just a few times, and then when you're ready, pick the leg up, bring it across, and then just stare at all your toes, all 12 of them, and lean in. Just breathe. And then go ahead and place the knee right back under the hip. So now we're going to work on extension. So I would have to say extension, internal rotation and extension are probably my two weakest points. Don't really like doing either one of them, but I know it's good for me. So extension is bringing the right leg back. So I want to keep my hips, both hip points pointing toward the floor, and then lift my leg. Right, so you don't want to get your back into this. So if you notice that you're hiking your hip up, try to get those hip points square toward the floor and just use the hip. Right, again, nice neutral spine, nice straight spine. You can press out through the heel if that helps you a little bit stronger. And then go ahead and release. Right, so if you have a hard time extending like that, we can work on some hamstring stretches. Right, and then again, other leg goes back. Right, before you even lift the leg, both your hips are pointing toward the floor. Go ahead and extend. Keep the back straight. And then lower, bring your knee back to the mat. And again, if you want to just kind of wag from side to side, you can wag from side to side. All right, so we're just going to do maybe 3 on each side. We're going to work on our flexion and extension. So from my tabletop position, I'm going to flex the knee, and then I'm going to extend the leg straight back. All right, flex, and then send it straight back. Try not to curve the back. Just 3 times on each side. Like you're bringing your knee to your nose and then extending the leg straight back. Once you've done 3 on one side, do 3 on the other. So try to touch your knee to your nose and then extend. Right, in your nose, extend. Right, last one. And extend, right? And I can feel my hip hike up. So I always want to try to correct that and keep my hips nice and flat. Go ahead and bring your knees back down. And then we're just going to roll to one side. We'll bring the legs out in front. And we're going to come onto our backs again. So we're going to do that same sort of pigeon pose that we did before, keeping the knees bent, just cross one leg over the other, again, flexing the foot. From here, you can draw both legs in toward the chest. Relax the shoulders, relax the face. You may feel a little bit deeper when we're lying on our back than when you did when we were seated. But I like this stretch because we really have the control here. Your body weight is not on top of the stretch, right? The stretch is on top of the majority of our body weight. So we're just kind of playing with what feels good here. And I love to rock from side to side. Once I come here, I like to just go from side to side because me in particular, I have a tight spot that really targets that tight spot when I rock back and forth. And then we're going to switch sides. So dropping your foot down, crossing other leg over. right? Flexing the foot, pulling the legs in close to you, relax the shoulders, relax the face. Maybe holding for a couple breaths here. And then if you feel like it, you can start that rocking from side to side motion. So we've talked about a lot of different things. I don't expect you guys to like retain it all, but hopefully some of it is makes a little sense to you guys. You know, the internal, external, the abduction, abduction, flexion, extension. Right, we'll go ahead and drop both feet to the floor, and we're going to straighten the legs. So we're going to put them all together in what's called circumduction. So circumduction, we're going to bring our left knee in toward the chest. Again, you can grab behind the leg if that's more comfortable. You can interlace your hands around the knee. And we're going to, circumduction, basically we're going to take a circle. I actually prefer to hold it on with one hand. I'm going to drop my leg out to the side. I'm going to bring my knee away from me, across the body, and then back in. So basically, right, a nice big circle. So the low back stays firmly rooted down. So we want the movement to come just from the hip joint, right? Just that. So the hip is a ball and socket joint. We want to start to feel that femur, that big bone that connects in there. It's like we're stirring it around in the joint. So be very mindful of any clicking or grinding. You know, making your circles a little smaller if you feel discomfort. Right, and then you can go ahead and take the circles in the opposite direction. Just kind of stirring it around. And again, I don't like internal rotation, so I kind of like skip over that part, but I am consciously trying to bring my knee across the midline of my body and then send it away, up to the side and back in. Right, and this is going to work on all of the movements put together. Right, the knee comes in is flexion, the knee moves away, that's extension. And then we'll switch sides. Whenever you're ready, just grabbing the opposite knee, right? Two hands, one hand, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which way you decide to go, your circles, we're gonna go the other way anyway. So right, whatever you start doing. All right, and then release the leg down. Oh, unless you didn't go the other way first. Go the other way a few times. And then we'll release. Sorry, I'm just doing my own thing over here. All right, so the next pose, I thought it was kind of funny when I researched this pose. It's actually called the Jane Fonda pose. Like, I don't know if you guys remember who Jane Fonda is, but it cracked me up. So I'm gonna roll to my side and I'm gonna just bend my elbow and kind of rest my hand on my head. My top leg is gonna come in front like this. If I can grab my ankle, I'm gonna grab my ankle, right? And then my bottom leg is straight. Now we're working on abduction with the bottom leg. If you can, try to raise the leg up. Right, we're also getting a nice external hip stretch with the top leg. Just kind of hold it up there for, I don't know, a count of 5 or 10. And then slowly lower down. Right, and then we're gonna switch sides. So I'm gonna roll my body over this way. Right, same thing, just rest your head on your hand, bring your top leg up and over. If you can grab the ankle, great. Just kind of straighten that bottom leg and then see if you can lift it up. So you can point out through the toe, you can flex out through the heel, whatever feels good. You know, all these movements are going to really strengthen everything in the hip. All right, so we're stretching and strengthening. All right, and then go ahead and release. All right, let's roll to our bellies while we're here on the mat. This one might be a little difficult if you have a strap. That wasn't one of the things that I was requiring for the workshop. But what I found is if I roll to my side first and then bend my top leg, I can grab my ankle with ease, and then I'm going to roll back down onto my belly. And I'm just going to try to pull my heel in towards my seat, right? So for those of you that can't grab the heel, a strap would work really good here. So we're just gonna do this briefly before we move on, in case anyone is not able to grab the ankle. Right, you just wanna feel, so that's that quadricep stretch, and we're gonna release, and we'll switch sides. So if it helps you to roll to the side, bend the knee, find the ankle, and then roll back onto the belly. And then go ahead and release. So bringing the hands under the shoulders, we're just gonna gently press ourselves back up again, right? And then we'll just come to sit back on the heels. So we just have a couple more, things I wanna go over, and then we're just gonna have like a little bit of a flow, just to kind of tie everything together. Right, so we're gonna really target how to stretch the hip flexors. So many of us, and for so many years, I thought, you know, this is how you stretch a hip flexor. You do this and you stretch your hip flexor. And it may get in there a little bit, but you're really stretching the front of the quad. So I wanna show you how to really activate that hip flexor. So instead of coming into like a low lunge like this, I'm gonna come into a 90-degree lunge like this. Right, so both legs are 90 degrees, and what we really need to do here is like anteriorly rotate, right? This is, or sorry, posterior. This is anterior, where we have this like curve in the back, right? We want to tuck the tailbone under. We're going to squeeze the glutes together, right? And that's how you target that hip flexor. So I don't know if you're feeling it. Start here, tuck it under, right? If you want to add to that, and I would strongly recommend tucking the back toe, is lift the arm of the knee that you're on, lift that arm up, and take a stretch over to the side. Right, so that is the hip flexor there. Keeping the tailbone tucked under and squeezing the glutes together. Right, and then go ahead and release. And hopefully, I don't know if you guys felt it. Did you guys feel it? Where? Here. Did we have, so the hip flexors come right here. So when you tilt back and you lean, it's gonna really target right there. It's just really getting in there. So then we're gonna switch sides. So we're gonna bring our other leg back. Again, a square lunge. You're gonna tuck the tailbone. So a lot of times when we do lunge, I just wanna explain this first. When we come in, look what's happening to my low back. It's arching, so a lot of this stretch is coming from my back, it's not coming from my hip, right? So when I come up like this, and I tuck, like consciously tuck my tailbone under, already I can feel that stretch in the hip flexor. If I wanna make it a little bit more intense, I'm gonna raise that arm and lean over to the side. You really need to squeeze the butt together, and you really need to tuck the tail. Right, and that's pretty intense. And then go ahead and release. Okay. And then from here, take a sip of water, take a breather. We're gonna come up to stand. So I definitely need some water. Okay. So we've been doing a lot of like stretching. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna come up and we're gonna activate our muscles, and we're gonna come through like a little bit of a flow, a little bit of a yoga flow. Nothing crazy, but just to kind of put all the pieces together, right? Using all those different movements. Right? And then at the end, we're gonna reserve for our challenges. So we're gonna have a few challenges here just to make it fun. And that's what they're intended to be fun. They're not intended to like get injured. So make sure that you feel comfortable doing what we're doing. So we're just gonna come up to stand. Hopefully you guys can see me all on the frame. And so now we're gonna activate our muscles. So I'm gonna shift my weight into my right leg. If you wanna bring your hands to your hips or wherever they feel comfortable. I'm gonna flex the toes of my left foot, and I'm just gonna take circles. Right, so we don't want to like stir our whole body. I'm exaggerating, but you want to try to stay as still as possible If you need to hold on to something, a chair or something like that, you can, or just don't make the circles as big. Right, but really engaging those muscles that it takes to kind of stir the right leg around, right? And then just a few times go in the opposite direction. And it takes some balance to be able to do this. So definitely go ahead and use the wall or anything near you. Right, and then we'll switch. You can feel that standing leg was really activated there, and it's like, gets a little bit fatigued, right? So now we're gonna push the weight into the other foot, right? Flex the foot, and then just go around a few times. If you stare at something that's not moving, that will help with your balance. And make sure you go around a few times the other way. And then go ahead and release. And then just kind of shake out your legs a little bit, right? Those standing legs, and just activating those muscles is going to really, you know, kind of like fatigue the hips a little bit. So now we're going to do it a different way. So standing up, we're going to, again, if you need to hold on to something, I'm going to bring my leg out in front like this, and I'm just going to go side to side. So I'm going out and then across the body. Again, try to stand up nice and tall. And the foot is low, right? We're just kind of going from side to side, right? Just a few times. And then when you're ready, go ahead and switch, shift the weight into the other foot, flex the toes, and just kind of go from side to side. And then release, go ahead and shake out the legs a little bit. Last one, standing, right? So I'm going to shift my weight into one leg, and I'm going to flex my toes, I'm going to come forward, and I'm going to extend. All right, forward and back. Right, it forces us to try to balance. Okay, so that's where our stability kind of ties into all of this. And then switch sides, flex the foot. Again, just forward and back. And then go ahead and release. And again, just go ahead and shake it out. So now that we've got everything kind of activated, our muscles are activated in the hips, we're going to just do a quick yoga sequence, just really quick. All right, we still have things to cover. So we're going to start at the front of the mat, wherever you are. Just start at the top of the mat. We can begin by bringing our hands to prayer in front of the heart. Right, we'll take a nice big inhale, reach the arms up. Right, lift the chest, take a little back bend here. And then go ahead and exhale, hinge from the hips as you fold over the legs. Go ahead and bend the knees if you need to bend the knees. Let the head drop down, it feels really good. Right, from here we're going to step our right foot back. Right, nice big step back with that right foot, and then go ahead and drop the knee. So I'm going to face this. Once we're in our lunge, we're going to work on that circumduction again. So I'm going to place all of my weight into my right hand, and I'm going to stir my leg around. So I have to shift my hips back, and I'm going to move around. Right, just being very careful. So I roll to the outer edge of my foot as I drop the knee out. I lean back into my hips, and then I roll to the inner part of my foot as I come around. Right, so we do a lot of circles in this, but the hip, like I said, is a ball and socket. So we want to keep working on these movements. Right, and then once you've done a few times in one direction, go ahead and go the opposite way. Right, and you really need to kind of shift the hips back and forward to do this. Right, and then the next time you're leaning forward, we'll spend just a couple breaths in our low lunge. Right, you can tuck the back foot or untuck the back foot. If you want to come up to the knee, you can come up to the knee. Right, notice how the low back does have that curve. You want to try to tuck the tail a little bit under. And then bring the hands to the floor. We're going to send the hips back. So keeping the hips over the knee though. Don't send the hips all the way back toward the seat. We're going to come into a hamstring stretch. So just try to keep a nice flat back, folding over that front leg. Feel that nice stretch in the hamstring. If you want to make it a little bit more intense, you want to pull the toes back towards you. Right, but it may be enough intensity with keeping the toes pointing forward. Try to square the hips off. Right, and then we'll come forward, we're going to plant the hands. And if you can, step back into plank, right? If you can't, just keep the knees on the mat. From our plank, we're going to drop the knees, chest and chin, right? And then inhale for cobra pose. And then we'll exhale back downward facing dog. Take a few breaths in down dog. If down dog's not your thing, just stay in your child's pose. Right, let's lift that left leg up in the air. Go ahead and bend the knees, stack the hips, one over the other. Really open the front of the hip. Right, and then we'll point the leg straight, bring the left foot back to the floor, and then switch sides. So right leg comes up. Right, bend the knee, stack the right hip on top of the left. Try to point the knee up toward the ceiling, really opening. Right, and then point the leg up to the ceiling. This time we're going to step that right foot forward and drop the knee. Right, and then we're going to come into our circles on this side. So really pressing the weight into the left hand. We're going to do that kind of stirring thing again. So drop the knee out, send the hips back. Or hopefully you guys see okay. And it doesn't matter again, I think, which way you go, just kind of moving around. And then the other way. And then we'll come back to our lunge. And again, just letting the hips sink down, tuck the tail, maybe come up to the knee. Right, and then shift it back for our hamstring stretch. And then come forward, and we're going to step that left foot forward to meet the right. Find ourselves in our Uttanasana, and inhale, come all the way up. And then exhale, hands to prayer. Right, one more little flow here. Inhale, reach the arms up. Right, exhale, fold. This time, stepping back with the right foot, we're going to plant it down at 45 degrees to come up for warrior one. So try to bring the knee right over the ankle and then lift up. Right, feel how much the hips are involved in this pose. Right, if my foot is at 45 degrees, it's hard to bring my hip forward, but if you want to take your hips and point them forward to kind of encourage it, you can. Right, and then let's open up for warrior two. Right, so same thing, you feel it in the front of that left hip. Right, gazing over your middle finger, tucking the tailbone, right, zipping up that zipper, lower abs. Let's drop the right hand and come back, peaceful warrior. Right, keeping the bend in that front knee. And then come forward. We'll drop our left forearm to our thigh, reach the right arm overhead for side angle pose. Right, try to kind of pivot the torso toward the ceiling. Look toward the ceiling. Right, and then turn to face your left foot. We're going to hop that foot in, drop it down, and we're going to come right into a twist from here. So coming up, reach up with the right arm. Exhale, bring your elbow across the knee, make a kerchief with the hands and twist. And then we'll go the opposite way. So my left hand is going to come on the inside of my left foot. I'm going to use my arm as leverage against the knee, and I'm going to open up toward the sky with my right arm. Right, hands back to the floor. Go ahead and step your right foot forward to meet the left. Uttanasana. And then inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands come down. So we just have to repeat that sequence on the other side. So again, starting at the top of the mat, inhale, reach up. Right, exhaling, forward fold. This time sending the left foot back, landing at 45 degrees, coming up for your warrior one. So if you want to come to the knee first and find your stability first, then maybe bring the hands to the hips, try to point them forward. You may want to stay here or just bring the arms up overhead. And then opening warrior two. Relax the shoulders, don't hike them up. Check with your back arm, make sure it's not doing one of these. Right, peaceful warrior, keep a bend in that front knee. Left hand down, right arm reaches up. And side angle, forearm to thigh, left arm overhead. Maybe look up at the ceiling. Right, hands come to the mat, pop that back foot in, drop the knee down under the hip. Inhale, left arm up, exhale, twist to the right. And release, right hand on the inside of the right foot. Again, pressing into the leg, open up, inhale. Hands come back to the mat, left foot steps forward. Just holding here over the legs for a few breaths. When you're ready, inhale, arms reach up. Exhaling, hands to prayer. Right, and then just go ahead and shake it out. So that's it, that's all we're gonna do for the flow. Suddenly got hot in here. And I'm really thirsty. So we have a couple of challenges before we close out. I hope you guys are doing okay over there on your Zoom. All right, so I want to go over squatting, right, Malasana. So if you can, you're going to bring your feet out in front. You're going to point the toes out and the heels in. Hands come out like this. And you're going to just very slowly, very steadily, with a nice flat back, right? Try to come down into a squat, right? Lucky for us here in the yoga studio. And I want to mention, you need to keep your heels on the floor. It can't be one of these things. We have these great pillars, right? So this is going to help me. Hopefully I'm still in the frame. Walk my hands down with maintaining a nice flat back. And I have a little bit of something to help me do this, right? Unless you can do it on your own, right? Just kind of coming into that squat. So when you're in your Malasana, it's like your torso is in between the legs. You can bring one elbow on the inside of each leg. Hands come to prayer, try to drop the seat down, lift the chest, right? This is, someone I read was saying you should do this every single day. You should do a squat like this every single day. Right, and then release, we'll bring our hands to the floor, and then just go ahead and take a fold here. Just fold over the legs. Maybe you want to sway from side to side a little bit. All right, so this is going to be like sort of our first challenge. And again, this is only for those that want to try it. If you think that it's not for you, I wouldn't worry about it. Just watch and maybe practice it down the road. So coming from the squat, like this, nice and low. Hands are away from the legs. You're just going to drop one knee down, back up, other knee down, back up. Just go from side to side. Right, dropping down, coming back. Right, internal rotation there. So if it's, okay, don't. See, he says, oh yeah, don't do it. Right, and then just come on up and shake it out. So that's a tough one. And again, you can work up to that. You can do a lot of these stretches to kind of open up. Your toes get a little tougher over time. I know certain things, you start with my wrists and my fingers, and now they're tough. They don't care. This one is, so this is a take on Skandasana. So Skandasana, we're going to start with the hands, or sorry, the feet rather, kind of wide, right? You can bring your hands to prayer here. Basically, I'm going to bend into one knee, and I'm going to turn my toes up toward the ceiling on the other leg, right? And then switch from side to side. Toes pointing up, right? You can feel that deep stretch, right? Some of you may be able to toe heel the foot out a little deeper and come into that squatting position, right? You can use your hands to move from side to side, or you can try keeping the hands at prayer and just coming up and over. Again, that foot is flat on the floor. You don't want to lift it up, right? If this is too deep, again, just stay up higher, right? This is what we work. This is how our hip strength allows us to be mobile like this, right? And then just come on up, bring the feet together, shake it out. Running that breath now. All right, we're almost there, guys. So warrior three is a tough one. It requires that extension that we were talking about. So we're gonna try this again if you want, right? So warrior three, we're not gonna worry about the arms swinging overhead. You just bring them to prayer if you want. And we're just gonna extend the leg back. So keep the hips, try to keep the hips square. Lift that left leg up, whatever leg you're on. From this position, we're going to try to come forward, bend that leg that's in the air, bring it out in front of you, and then see if you can straighten the leg. Nice, and then release. Right? It's really targeting that quad stuff. All right, we can play around with this, or we can try the other side, right? Sometimes I like to bring my left foot out in front. It gives me a little bit of a head start. My hips are pointing down. My chest is kind of reaching forward. And I'm just going to lift that back leg. Right, some steadiness, maybe staring at something that's not moving. Bring the leg out in front. And then maybe try to straighten. And release it. All right. So, whenever you're done with that, go ahead and shake it out a bit. Right, we're gonna make our way back onto our mats, and we're gonna come to lie on the floor. Right, so the first thing we're gonna do, well, if you want to grab anything specific for Shavasana, now would be the time to do it. If you want a blanket or something like that, just kind of get that ready. We're not quite done, but we're probably not gonna move from this place. Right, once you're situated, we're gonna lie on our backs. Right, just kind of slow the breath down, slow the heart rate down. We're gonna end with a little bit of a twist, but from here, let's draw the knees in toward the chest. Give yourself one last hug, maybe rock from side to side or take happy baby if you like. And we're gonna end here with a spinal twist. So I'm just gonna take my left hand across my right knee, let my hips drop to the left. And I'm gonna extend my right arm and twist my torso over to the right. And slowly bringing one knee up at a time. We'll go to the other side, right hand across the left knee, let the knees drop to the right. Take a twist to the left. And then again, just one knee up at a time. Any last stretch you want to take here, if you want to kind of rock or roll, or again, like happy baby's great. You can straighten the legs if it feels good. Any last stretches you want to take. And then once you're finished with that, we just bring the legs long. Right, maybe just kind of wiggle a little bit so that you feel nice and comfortable. And then from here, we're just going to come into some breathing. So we're going to bring our hands on either side of our rib cage. We want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Right, we're going to turn off that fight or flight response, and we're going to come into that rest and digest mode. So you want to place your hands on either side of your rib cage. Right, we're going to turn the muscles off. So we want to just inhale. Feel the ribs expand. And exhale. Feel the ribs drop down. We'll do a few more like that. So just filling up. Exhaling, letting go. Feel everything just kind of shutting off and turning off. Shut everything down. On your next exhale, you can just bring your arms out to the sides. Just allow your palms to face up. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades under a little bit. Maybe rock the head a little bit from side to side. You should feel nice and relaxed here. So heavy legs, heavy arms. Just going to walk through a guided relaxation. All you have to do is just listen. Try to sink down a little bit deeper. Relaxing the soles of your feet. Relax the tops of your feet and your toes. Relax your ankles, calves, shins and knees. Relaxing the top of your legs, your quadricep muscles. Relaxing the back of your legs, your hamstrings. Making both legs very heavy and very loose. Relax the palms of your hands, all of your fingers. Relax your thumbs and wrists. Relax your forearms, elbows, upper arms and shoulders, making both arms heavy and loose. Begin to feel your back as it presses down into the mat, relaxing the low back, middle back, upper back, and the back of your shoulders. Feel them heavy and loose on the floor. Relaxing the front of your body, pelvic area, abdominal area, rib cage and chest. Everything is loose and heavy except for the chest. The chest is loose but light. Relaxing the front of the neck, moving into the jaw and cheekbones. Relaxing the eyes and all around the temples, forehead, your scalp,
Allowing the body to be by itself and allowing the breath to just breathe by itself. Slowly, very gently, start to bring your awareness back into the room you're in, back into your space. Bring your awareness back to your fingers and toes, to your breath. I invite everyone to really take your time coming back to sit. I see a lot of people just kind of pop up, and I get it. We've worked really hard to create this state of relaxation that we're in right now. We want to try to hold on to it and maintain it for as long as possible. It's not to say that we won't have energy, but we don't want to go from 0 to 60. And so maybe wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers. Coming out of Shavasana is very much like waking up in the morning. So if you want to stretch the arms overhead, just like that first morning stretch of the day. And then from here, maybe just one knee at a time comes in toward the chest. And you can just roll to one side. Right, resting here. Having that moment of gratitude for your practice, for your body, all the amazing things it does for us. Having that appreciation. When you feel like you're ready to press up, maybe just keep the eyes closed. Keep the head and neck nice and relaxed. Straighten that top leg and just press into your top arm. Right, as you start to press yourself back up. And again, you don't even have to move at this pace. You can go slower if you like. Just very, very gently making your way back to a seated position. If you want to grab your blanket and put it under your seat. And maybe taking a moment to notice how your hips feel as compared to like when we first started class. Right, so I just want to close out with a mantra. This is Madriga. It's a beautiful mantra. If you know it, you can chant along. And again, if not, it's all good. We'll just close out by chanting a mantra, and then we'll do our ohms.
Sorry, I'm too relaxed. Jaya Jaya One more time. From here, let's bring our hands to prayer in front of the heart. I couldn't play the harmonium because I was so relaxed and I didn't want to have to pay attention. All right, so we'll bring our hands to prayer in front of the heart. And we'll close out with one Om and 3 Shanti. Now I can't talk. All right. So nice big inhale. 1 Om, 3 Shanti. Shanti meaning peace. Nice big inhale. Shanti.